I stood alone in the middle of the dimly lit hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. Maplewood High School felt colder than usual that day, or perhaps it was just the chill that gripped my bones, creeping in from the cracks between the walls like a threatening memory. My heart raced as I considered the events that had led me here to this moment, where revenge began to simmer like a pot about to boil over. I glanced at the locker doors to my left, their metallic surfaces slightly dented and scratched, just like my faith in humanity. Each dent reminded me of how many times I had hoped some sliver of decency would break through the air of high school drama and cliques, yet each time I was met with disappointment. I pulled my backpack tighter against my shoulder, the weight of my anger pressed heavily against my chest, mixing with the pressure of my thoughts, a dangerous concoction brewing within me. "You okay, man?" A voice interrupted my spiral. I turned to see my best friend Liam leaning against the wall, his arms folded in a casual manner that seemed to scream he was always at ease. He had a comforting smile, the kind that could turn the grayest days sunny, even if only temporarily. "Yeah, just thinking," I replied, my voice a bit harsher than I intended. My insides twisted as I realized how much I was about to burden him. "You don't look okay, you look like someone just told you a ghost story," he said, shifting to face me more directly. His blue eyes searched mine, probing as if he could pluck my thoughts right out of my skull and lay them bare before me like a freshly caught fish. I rolled my eyes but felt a warmth bloom in my chest at his concern. "I just, have some things on my mind. Like how much everyone is talking about Sean," he asked, and I felt my blood run cold at the mere mention of that name. Sean Enfield was the king of Maplewood, tall, athletic, with a smile that charmed the entire student body even as he picked off the weak ones like they were mere pawns in his game. He was the kind of guy who could skate through life with all the cool points, even as his actions revealed a dark undercurrent that most people were too blinded by popularity to see. "Yeah, maybe," I answered, forcing my eyes to the ground, watching the scuffed tiles and wondering if they were as broken as my spirit. "Did you hear what he did to Steven?" Liam's words pulled me back into the painful reality, and I tried to swallow the surge of anger rising like bile in my throat. It was one of those stories that had spread like wildfire through the school. Sean had humiliated Steven, a classmate who had once been one of us before his vulnerability made him easy prey. "He posted that video, right?" Liam continued, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I couldn't believe what I saw, poor kid. The video had emerged from one brutal afternoon where everyone had gathered around as Sean dragged Steven into the spotlight, making him perform embarrassing tricks for laughs. But it wasn't just a joke to Sean, it was sport. The video had captured it all, the way Sean laughed, the icy disdain mingling with amusement in his eyes as Steven stumbled and fell. It had gone viral across the school faster than light, and eventually I found myself on the side of the crowd, watching the whole episode unfold, helpless and horrified. I felt a sudden sickening pit in my stomach as I remembered Steven's face, how the joy of participating in the social scene had morphed into humiliation. "That's just who he is," I said bitterly, trying to mask my feelings as best as I could. "You know that." It pained me to remember the way Sean had laughed, that predatory shine in his eyes as he dissected Steven into pieces. "Doesn't make it right though," Liam countered, shaking his head. "People are talking about what to do, man. Even the teachers have noticed something is off." The whispers of rebellion against Sean had started to flutter through the corridors, fragile yet electric, filled with hope and courage. Boys and girls were beginning to unite against the toxicity of the high school hierarchy. "It's easy to talk," I muttered, my fists clenching as my mind raced back to how helpless I had felt on that day. "Everyone's afraid of him." "What if," Liam started, chewing on his lip as he thought carefully about the words he was about to unleash, "what if we did something about it?" I looked up sharply, met his gaze, and felt a surge of defiance ripple through me. "What do you mean?" I asked, adrenaline thrumming through my veins as curiosity overrode my sense of caution. "I mean," he paused, his eyes narrowing slightly, "what if we brought everyone together, shined a light on what he's doing, show everyone that he's not unbeatable?" I was quiet as I processed his words. Slowly a spark ignited deep within me. "You think we could actually change things?" I asked incredulously. I could practically see the gears turning in Liam's head, a plan forming like storm clouds on the horizon, and it both thrilled and terrified me. "I think we can," he answered with firm conviction. "But we can't do it alone. We need a team. We need people who will stand with us, even those who are scared." The thought of rallying people around a cause was daring and dangerously intoxicating. My heart raced again as the images of high school struggles, faces behind the masks, and the ghosts of fear trapped inside each heart flickered in my thoughts. "Who would even listen to us?" I questioned, skepticism creeping in like a shadow. "I mean, it's Sean we're up against." Liam chuckled softly, and I could see the challenge lighting up his expression. "Exactly. Everyone talks about wanting to do something, but no one has the guts to act. We can be the ones who step up." The idea hung in the air between us, throbbing with possibility and uncharted territory. I took a deep breath, marinating in the fear and adrenaline coursing through me. The world outside felt distant, but an ember was igniting, shrinking my doubts and expanding my resolve. "All right," I said slowly, my voice strong and steady this time. "Let's do it." "Really?" Liam's eyebrows shot up, and the surprise that danced in his features amplified that spark in my own chest. "Yes, but it has to be planned out. We need to pick the right moment and the right people." I looked down the hallway once more, imagining the scattered groups of students buzzing with excitement, caught up in their own lives while unaware of how easily everything could change. The walls felt as if they were closing in on me, but unlike before, I felt like I stood at the precipice of something dangerous and exhilarating. "We will be careful, we will take our time," I said, my voice unwavering. "We will find those people who feel the same way we do. We can't just go head to head with Sean like some crazy action movie." "Agreed," Liam nodded, and I saw the fire in his eyes, the excitement swaying him like it swayed me. "But it starts now, right?" "Yeah." "Now," I said, feeling the pulse of a revolution beginning to beat between us like a shared heartbeat. As we walked down the hallway, the chatter of students faded into a growl of background noise. I could feel my senses sharpen, every voice a reminder of the growing intensity inside me. I was no longer just Tobias, the weird kid with awkward conversations and mismatched shoes. Now I was part of a movement, a tide waiting to turn, a current ready to flow against the grain, and with each step the fear that had encased me began to thaw, replaced by determination to not only stand up for myself but for Stephen and everyone else whom Sean had desecrated. With each passing moment we gathered our courage, fueled by anger and the desire for change, united against the common enemy who wielded his power like a puppet master. There was no turning back now. This was war, and it had merely begun. The fluorescent buzz of the school hallway hummed in the background as I leaned against my locker, the dim light casting shadows over my face. My heart raced, each thud echoing in my ears like a battle drum. I could still see Marcus's sneer, the way he had laughed while my world crumbled around me. The lunchroom incident replayed in my mind like an awful movie stuck on repeat. My stomach twisted into knots as I thought about it. That day, that moment was the spark igniting the fire of my revenge, and I would make sure it burned bright. "Hey Tobias, you coming or what?" my best friend Jake called out. He slung his backpack over one shoulder, his sandy hair tousled from running his fingers through it. He wore that constant casual smile, but today I could see the concern lurking in the corners of his eyes. I waved him over, slightly forcing a grin even though panic clawed at my insides. "Yeah, I just needed a minute." I glanced around the hallway, searching for Marcus. I had to tell Jake everything. The way my heart thumped would not subside until I poured out the secret. I hesitated, guilt gnawing at me. Do you know what happened back there with Marcus?" Jake frowned, crossing his arms. "That jerk, of course everyone saw. What's there to tell?" I took a deep breath, its warmth soothing my trembling hands. "No man, you don't understand. It wasn't just a dumb prank. He was trying to humiliate me." And it worked. I felt the words spilling from my lips, each more heartbreaking than the last. It was the whole cafeteria laughing and "Tobias," Jake cut in softly, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Listen, you can't let them get to you. Marcus is just some punk. Don't give him the power to control how you feel." I stared at him, the sincerity in his eyes grounding me but also angered me, only if he could fully understand. "No, you don't get it. I'm done being the punchline. I'm going to make him pay." His brow furrowed and he stepped back, scanning my face for something, maybe trying to find a glint of the rational friend he knew. "Tobias, what are you saying? Revenge isn't the answer, it's a slippery slope." "Maybe it is," I shot back. The taste of that bitter truth burned at the back of my throat. "But I have to do something. I have been the nice guy for too long and look where it's got me. It is my time to turn the tables." Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair again. "Look, I just don't want to see you get hurt. This stuff can spiral out of control fast." I stood there, my mind racing. I didn't want to admit it, but Jake's concern hit me harder than I expected. I felt the tension between us crackle. "You think I'm just going to roll over, let him walk all over me again?" "No, I refuse." "Fine," Jake huffed, frustration creeping into his tone. "Then what's your plan? You think egging his car or something is going to do the trick?" "Come on, Tobias. Think this through." I felt my blood boil as ideas swirled in my head and my mouth moved before I could even think through the timing. "I'm not going to egg anything. I'm going to use their cruelty against them. I just need to gather the right information, find the right moment." Jake raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. "Okay, Sherlock, what do you think you need to collect?" "His lunch money." I chuckled at that, the absurdity of it all lightening my mood just a bit. "No, I mean like personal stuff. Things that would matter to him, something that could really get under his skin." He frowned, eyes narrowing. "You are not planning to blackmail him or something like that, are you?" I shrugged nonchalantly, trying to ignore the chill that crawled up my spine at the thought. "We'll see." "Dude, be honest with me here. Are you certain this is the path you want to go down, that it will even make you feel better?" I looked away, biting my lip, the uncertainty gnawing at me. "I won't know unless I try, will I?" He smirked, sarcasm oozing from his tone. "Well, obviously throwing a tantrum in the cafeteria didn't work out too well for you." Regaining my focus, I rolled my eyes. I know, but hear me out. He's vulnerable outside of school too. He lives just across the park from me. I can't." "Tobias," he interrupted again, his voice serious now. "I really don't want you to get tangled in this." I rubbed the back of my neck, feeling heated. "It's not just about me anymore, Jake. Maybe it does make me feel better, but it's also about standing up for everyone else who has been pushed down." There was a silence between us. I could feel the weight of his disappointment, and I hated that I was putting my best friend in this position. "I just don't want you to become one of them," he finally said, the tension barely masking the ache in his voice. I nodded, but deep down I felt a different tug, one that pulled me toward darker thoughts. "I won't, Jake, I promise, but I have to do this for me." "I just hope you know what you're doing," Jake muttered, shaking his head. I could see he didn't believe it. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other, glancing at the clock ticking away on the wall. "I'll figure it out, I have to get going," I said, my voice now firm. "I can't let this creep logic chip away at me." "Fine, just don't do anything reckless." Remember, revenge can come back to bite you, Jake warned again, but already I could feel my resolve hardening. I could almost taste the sweet satisfaction of my vengeance, and it spurred me on. I watched as Jake walked in the other direction, the familiar scent of his cologne dissipating into the humid air of the hallway. My chest tightened. I was running against a race of moral ambiguity. Each step echoed on the worn floor as I made my way back to class, the absence of Jake's supportive presence lingering behind me. Once the bell rang, I knew the attention in the classroom would be rigid, looming like a dark cloud. Most students filed in aimlessly, the cracks of gossip filling the air like invisible smoke. I took my usual seat at the back where I could fade into the chaos, but today I didn't want to blend in. I wanted information. I felt the weight of my plan pressing against my chest. Marcus strutted into the room, laughing with his crew, his posture radiating confidence. I clenched my fists under the desk, the sound of his laughter setting my teeth on edge. This wasn't just a regular day anymore, this was the countdown to something bigger. "Can you believe that loser?" Marcus barked, loud enough for everyone to hear. I mean, moonwalking in front of the whole cafeteria. What a joke! I felt the burn of humiliation, but it only fueled my fire. I needed to dig deeper. I needed to uncover secrets, dirt, anything that could dismantle his fortress of arrogance. As the teacher droned on about some poetic heroism, I allowed my mind to slip into a lull, thinking about what I needed to do. The moment I could escape, I slipped out into the crowded hallway. Everything was a blur as I threaded through the sea of students, each conversation merging into a chorus of noise. I made a beeline for the library, the one place where I could gather my thoughts and hatch a solid plan. The library felt like the last bastion of hope. The smell of old pages wafted through the air, wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. I found a secluded corner, an empty table tucked away behind the rows of encyclopedias. Pulling my ancient laptop from my bag, I booted it up, the whirring sound reassuring as it came to life. Opening a fresh document, I hesitated. Just where would I start? So many possibilities unfolded in my swirling head. My fingers hovered over the keys and I began typing furiously, brainstorming every piece of intel I could dig up on Marcus. His friends, his family, even his social media. Nothing was off limits. After digging for about an hour, a name popped up: Jessica Palmer, a girl from the popular crowd who was dating Marcus. The way they posed next to each other in photos belied an apparent bond. This was the golden ticket. If I could get to her and figure out what made Marcus tick beneath that brash exterior, I could crack his mask wide open. I bit my lip, not even thinking twice about how twisted this all was. "This is it," I murmured to myself, excitement making my pulse quicken. "This is how I hit him where it hurts." "Hey, Tobias," a voice pulled me from my thoughts. I looked up to see Mason, another one of my classmates, standing there leaning on the table with a casual grin. "What's up? I saw you got roasted at lunch today. Classic Marcus, am I right?" I sighed. "Yeah, you can say that," he smirked. "You think he'll stop?" "No, I'm working on that." The words slipped out and I could see the shadow of disbelief on Mason's face, which quickly turned to genuine curiosity. "What do you mean, you seriously going to get back at him? Because that would be legendary, my dude." His words both excited and unsettled me. "Maybe you might want to keep that down though, you know how people talk." "Come on, I'm all in for this. What's your plan?" Mason leaned in, eager for gossip. I hadn't quite mapped out all the specifics yet, but the thrill surged in me. "Just trying to dig up a little dirt on him." "Dirt? Oh, that's spicy." His eyes gleamed with mischief. "I know a few things. You want the scoop." "Like what?" My heart raced with anticipation. Every option was a step closer to my goal. "Well, there's this rumor he cheated on Jessica. It's probably not public though, so I wouldn't want to get busted for spilling tea on that. Just saying." My heart thundered. This was the information I could use to unravel him. "Do you know how I can get to her? I mean, really get her to let me in." "Just be smooth about it. Girls can sniff out desperation. Just act like you need her help with something. That could draw her in." Feelings of greed and guilt warred in my chest, but I focused on the one thing, the one driving goal that anchored my resolve. "Thanks for the tip, Mason," I said, my voice steady despite the whirlwind inside me. "Anytime, bro. Just remember that vengeance is a dish best served cold." He winked at me, a grin spreading wider across his face before he wandered off, leaving me to my thoughts. Once alone again, I leaned back in my seat, the rush of ideas washing through me. I may not have all the answers yet, but each detail I unearthed brought me one step closer. A newfound determination tinged my fingertips as I typed out a message on my phone. It was a direct line to Jessica on social media. Less than a minute later, my heart jumped when I received a response. "Hey, what do you need?" Everything was in place. I felt like a predator circling its prey, and honestly, I reveled in it. I could already feel the tide turning. Sooner or later, Marcus would learn that this was not a game. The day of reckoning was coming, and I would be the architect of his downfall. I stepped out of the school building and felt the crisp autumn air sting against my skin. The scent of fallen leaves blended with something familiar yet unsettling. It was the same feeling I had after every confrontation with Ryan Barrett. This was not just another day, it was the turning point. I had spent the last 2 weeks plotting my revenge, and today felt different, charged with an energy I couldn't shake off. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that wrapped around the school like a blanket of secrets. I felt the weight of my plan pressing against my chest, heavy yet exhilarating, like a roller coaster hanging momentarily before the drop. As I walked toward the parking lot, my mind was a swirl of thoughts. I could see him leaning against his sleek black car, his gang of friends laughing boisterously, the sound echoing like nails on a chalkboard. Ryan was the kind of guy who thrived on attention, his confidence radiating like a beacon, and I knew it was time to strip that facade away to unveil the ugly truth hidden just beneath the surface. My heart hammered in my chest, the anticipation fueling my courage. "Okay, Tobias," I muttered to myself, my hands shaking slightly as I clenched my backpack straps tighter. "This is it." I stepped off the curb and made my way toward them, forcing my legs to move even as doubts slithered into my mind. I remembered everything Ryan had done, every taunt, every jeer, every moment of humiliation, and suddenly the bitterness bubbled up within me. Why did I ever let him get to me? I wondered, the irony stinging. For so long I let Ryan define me, but not anymore. This time things were going to be different. "Look who it is, the school loser," one of Ryan's friends, Jason, sneered, flicking a toothpick between his fingers. The others laughed, the sound grating against my nerves like a sandpaper. "What do you want, Tobias? Trying to borrow a helicopter to escape this dump?" Their laughter rang out sharp and cruel, but I pressed on, determination thickening my resolve. "I don't want anything from you, Jason," I replied, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. "But if you're looking for a good show, you found it." I cleared my throat, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The group quieted, curiosity painted on their faces. Ryan's expression shifted, eyebrows knitting together. "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked, crossing his arms, the same old arrogant smirk creeping back into view. "Let's talk, just you and me," I said, surprising even myself with how firm I sounded. "No audience, just you." The challenge hung in the air, thick as fog. I felt the power shift. For the first time, I was not some insignificant blip on his radar. I was a comet blazing across his sky, and I could feel the tension tightening like a noose around us. "Fine," Ryan said, tossing a look back at his friends, who scoffed. "You're on." He pushed away from his car, swaggering towards me with that cocky stride I remembered all too well. "But you better have a good reason for dragging me away from my friends. I can't imagine what a lowlife like you could possibly have to say that would interest me. You might want to give me a chance. I'm not leaving here until you know the truth," I said, swallowing hard, panic slicing through me like a knife. Inside, I was wrestling my emotions, fear battled with anger. I wanted to scream at him, to unleash the fury that bubbled under my skin, but I needed to keep my composure. "What truth? That you still cry yourself to sleep at night? You've got to be joking," Ryan laughed, dismissing me with a wave. "You think you can change that? You're still the same pathetic loser you've always been." There it was, the jab of ridicule that cut deeper than any wound I had endured before. I clenched my fists at my sides, fighting the urge to retreat into my shell. "No, Ryan, the truth is you've been hiding behind this false image, pretending to be someone you're not," I said, my voice strong, conviction surging through me. "This whole persona of yours is just a stupid act to cover up your insecurities. I know that now. You're just as scared as I am." His face twisted for a moment, surprise glimmering in his eyes. "Am I scared?" he scoffed, but the wobble in his voice betrayed him. "You don't know anything about me." I took a step closer, observing the way his bravado faltered. "I know you're scared of being rejected or laughed at, just like everyone else. And you push people down to make yourself feel bigger, but deep down inside you're just a scared kid." I watched his jaw tighten, the muscles working beneath his skin. I had struck a nerve and I couldn't let up. "Shut up, Tobias, you don't know what you are talking about," Ryan spat, clenching his fists. "I do know," I pressed, adrenaline spiking. "Let's make this really simple. You talk big, but you have nothing to back it up. You've built this reputation on fear, and people only follow you because they think you're strong. But what happens when they find out your strength is just a mask for your weaknesses? I am done being afraid of you. You've pushed me around for too long, and things are going to change." "That's rich coming from you," he shot back, glaring. "Newsflash, nobody gives a damn. You think you are going to change anything? Get real, loser." I felt heat rise in my cheeks, anger mixing with frustration. "Maybe you are right," I admitted, taking a deep breath, "but at least I am brave enough to show the truth while you hide behind your pathetic bullying. You know what they say, the truth will set you free. This is what I'm offering you, a chance to stop being the bully and start being real." My heartbeat pulsed in my ears, echoing against the brick walls of the school. Ryan paused, his expression shifting into something darker, as if he had been waiting for an opportunity to explode. "And what if I refuse?" he taunted, leaning in closer, his breath hot against my face. "You think this changes anything? I'll ruin you, Tobias. I'll make your life a living nightmare." "But you are already doing that," I said, defiance swelling inside me. "Nothing you do can hurt me anymore. Try it, I dare you." He hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. The bravado slipped just for an instant. "You think this is a game? You think I'm afraid of you?" I could feel the eyes of his friends on us, deliberate gazes that wavered between amusement and confusion. I had drawn a line, and now we stood toe-to-toe, shadows stretching behind us like specters watching a duel. "You have everything to lose, Ryan. What happens when I reveal the truth to everyone, when they see beyond your mask? You can pretend to be a king, but I know the real you, and that is something you've fought to keep hidden." He stepped back, the threat I posed settling uncomfortably in his mind. I could see the gears turning, uncertainty flashing behind his eyes. "You wouldn't dare," he responded, his voice low and threatening, but I saw the cracks forming in his armor. "Try me," I said, my voice steady. "You think I'm alone in this? You've inspired a generation of people to be stronger. Imagine what would happen if everyone realized that the Emperor has no clothes. They would see right through you, and then who would you be, Ryan? The challenge hung in the air like a tense wire waiting to snap, and for the first time admiration tinged my anger. Standing my ground felt exhilarating, power surging through me as adrenaline flowed in my veins. You think you can just walk up to me and make threats? You think people care about you? They will always side with me. He shouted, his voice booming, shattering the temporary silence. Maybe not anymore, I said. Now they see the man behind the curtain. Look at you, look at everything you are destroying. The world around us fell quiet, a profound stillness enveloped us, a myriad of emotions crashing like waves against a rocky shoreline. What does that even mean? He finally asked, a little breathless. It means that I'm done being afraid, I admitted, realizing how liberating it felt to shed the weight of fear. I am standing against you, Ryan, not just for myself, but for everyone you've ever torn down. For a moment, the fierce intensity of our standoff left us gasping, and I could see doubt sprouting in his eyes. That flicker of uncertainty was a crack in the facade, and I needed to push through it. What are you going to do? I asked. Will you keep pretending you are untouchable, or will you face what is truly eating you alive? He took a faltering step back, the bravado draining from his face. I don't fear you, Tobias. You don't scare me, he said, his voice shaky as the bravado began to evaporate. Yet behind his bluster was something else waiting to be revealed, and as I watched him, I felt an uneasy sympathy growing inside me. I understood his fears and insecurities better than ever, hidden beneath the bravado and dark jokes. Well, you should, I declared, heart racing as I took another step forward, because I have everything to lose and nothing else left to hide. The truth is like a wildfire, and I will expose you for everyone to see. The challenge was tangible, thick as the shadows that surrounded us. In that moment, I knew things were different. The balance of power had shifted. Ryan's world felt precarious, as if the slightest gust could send it tumbling down. I don't need to hide behind words, I stated firmly, believing in every word. You will answer for what you have done. What if I do? He asked, a hint of desperation creeping into his tone. That's the thing, I said, fierce with resolve. You won't be able to avoid it forever. There was no backing down now. My heart thundered and my palms grew clammy, but I stood my ground. For a chilling heartbeat, only silence settled between us, the world beyond fading into a distant murmur as we both stared one another down. Ryan's bravado had begun to crack, and I could see confusion mixing with some kind of unrecognizable fear growing in his eyes. You're not even worth my time, Tobias, he said at last, his voice barely a whisper as he stepped back, trying to regain control. Yet here I am, I said softly, my heart racing with the thrill of confrontation, and you can't even look me in the eye. His gaze flickered downward, and I knew I had reached him. The wind seemed to shift, brushing against my skin, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and the sweet, lingering scent of freedom. My mind whirled with possibilities, with the thought that maybe, just maybe, I was right. Get used to looking over your shoulder, Ryan, I said quietly with a sense of finality, stepping back as I turned to go. My heart pulsated with triumph and the weight of my words as I walked away, every step an act of courage. Today felt different, today felt like victory. The revenge I had sought could be sweeter than I'd imagined, not born of malice but rather freedom. With each step back toward the school, the sun dipped behind the horizon, casting a fiery glow across the sky, the remnants of our confrontation fading into the embers of dusk. I left behind a lingering promise of change, feeling lighter than I had in months, and finally, instinctively, I knew the tide had turned. The storm was coming, and it was my storm, and I would ride the waves until I emerged victorious. I stood in front of the old Maplewood High gymnasium, the cold metal bleachers glimmering slightly under the rusty overhead lights. The faint echoes of the past tugged at my mind as I took a deep breath, the chilly autumn air chilling me to the bone. This place held memories both sweet and bitter, but today the latter took precedence. I was here to confront the specter of betrayal, to unleash the chaos that had been simmering beneath my skin for far too long. I could see the outlines of the familiar faces through the frosted windows, packed inside for homecoming. My heart raced, and I could practically hear it thumping in my ears. I was no longer just Tobias, the quiet kid who sat in the back of the classroom. I was a storm ready to break. As I stepped inside the gym, the room erupted with sounds, laughter ringing out, the scent of popcorn and soda wafting through the air, but all I could see was my target, Jason. Jason stood with his back to me, tall and confident, his laughter booming across the room. He was the king of this little world, and I had been nothing more than a pawn in his game. I knew I had to approach him carefully, the atmosphere thick and charged with unspoken tensions. Riley, my best friend since grade school, followed closely behind me, her usually bright presence dulled by concern. Tobias, are you sure about this? She whispered, her voice barely rising above the cacophony. I shot her a glance, my expression hardening. What choice do I have, Riley? He has to know that he can't just walk away unscathed. I thought you were on my side. I could feel the resolve in my chest tighten like a vice. Riley looked at me, her eyes filled with concern. I am on your side, but there are other ways. You do not have to confront him in front of everyone. You could wait until after. No, I insisted, shaking my head. It's now or never. I need him to see me. I want everyone to see me. I want him to know what he has done. As I pushed through the crowd, I felt a sense of urgency, my heart racing with each step I took toward Jason. I could hear snippets of conversations, laughter, and music blasting from the speakers, but all of it faded into white noise. I could feel the stares of my old friends beginning to turn toward me, their faces a mix of surprise and curiosity. Look who it is, the invisible boy, Jason called out, his voice dripping with contempt as he turned to face me. The buzz of the crowd fell silent, a hush enveloping the room, and all eyes turned to us. My breath hitched in my throat as I looked into Jason's smirk, and a rush of anger surged through me. "You're hilarious, Jason," I said, forcing a calmness to my voice that I did not feel. The words tasted bitter on my tongue, each one like a dagger aimed at his heart. "How does it feel to be the punchline of your own joke?" He furrowed his brows, a flicker of surprise crossing his face before his cocky grin returned, wider than ever. "What are you doing here, Tobias? I thought you were afraid to show your face. What did you think you could just come here and play the victim?" I inhaled deeply, letting the cool air fill my lungs as I absorbed the power of the moment. I could feel Riley's presence behind me, a warm lighthouse guiding me to shore amidst the chaos. "It is about time you hear me. I am not the victim anymore, Jason. You think you can just walk all over me and I would take it, but you don't know me at all, you never did." Murmurs swept through the crowd like wildfire, eager to devour the drama unfolding before them. I could see some nodding, their eyes wide with intrigue, while others looked on with disdain, not at me but at Jason and his lack of a retort. He laughed, but there was an edge of nervousness behind it. "What are you going to do? Are you going to cry? Are you going to run away again?" "No," I said firmly, a fire igniting inside me. "I'm not running anymore. I want everyone to know how you used me. How you turned my friends against me and how you thought it was all just a game." Suddenly, I felt a rush of adrenaline as the crowd began to lean in closer. I could see familiar faces, long lengths of stories tied together, some of whom had perhaps witnessed Jason's cruel side. It was all surfacing like sharks drawn to blood. "You want to act like you are untouchable, but you are just a coward hiding behind your friends and your popularity. You look down on me because I am quiet. Now I will show you what being quiet really means." Jason's smile faltered momentarily, frustration flickering across his features. "This is so embarrassing, Tobias. You think anyone cares about your sad little tale? You think they're going to take your side?" "Maybe not all of them," I said, my confidence beginning to swell, "but some of them already know. Some of them saw the way you treated me. They remember the late-night whispers and the stares thrown my way. They're not blind, Jason. Open your eyes." The tension in the room thickened, a silence enveloping us like a shroud. I could see a few people nodding their heads in agreement, their faces a mix of curiosity and pity directed toward Jason. I wanted more than anything to take a step forward, to shove the truth down his throat and suffocate him with it, but I had to hold back, the tension was too precious. "Whatever," Jason scoffed, shrugging his shoulders. "You can't change what happened, you can't rewrite history." "And yet here we are," I countered, my heart hammering in my chest, the stakes rising with every breath. "Here I am finally speaking out. You know how everything had changed the moment you decided it was okay to humiliate me. Everything that happened was because of you. I was a joke to you." I could sense the crowd shifting in restlessness, sensing the confrontation build. They whispered amongst themselves, gazes bouncing back and forth between Jason and me, some intrigued, some repulsed, but all captivated. Jason swallowed hard and shook his head, a desperate attempt to regain control of the moment. "You need to stop taking yourself so seriously. It is just high school, get over it." "No, Jason, you need to get over yourself. You need to stop pretending you haven't damaged lives. I am telling you, it was never just high school for me. You made it hell. Maybe if you just learned to take a joke, things wouldn't have gone this way." He snapped, his facade beginning to crack, and I could feel the anticipation growing in the air. The onlookers shifted again, a mix of pity and anger surging through them as they began to understand the depth of my pain. "You want to talk about jokes? How about the time you slammed my locker shut and everyone laughed? Or when you tricked me into thinking I could join the football team? Or when I got sent to the nurse because of how you made me feel like I was nothing?" Jason opened his mouth to say something, but I cut him off. "They were not just jokes to me, Jason, they were my life. You have no idea how I felt. The feeling of everyone around you laughing while you just drown in your insecurities. But this is me taking back my power." The whole gym seemed to be holding its breath, reality pressing against our shoulders like a weight. I could see the gears turning in Jason's mind, the panic beginning to settle in as the realization dawned on him that he was losing control of the narrative. He took a step toward me, his bravado faltering. "You really think they care about your sob story? You think they are going to defend you?" "No," I replied, my voice steady. "Maybe they won't, but it does not matter because I will not back down anymore. You can't bully someone who knows their worth." Jason's expression twisted into disbelief, his confidence crumbling. "You are delusional if you think you are worth anything more than a punchline." "Maybe so," I said, feeling that tiny flicker of hope igniting inside me, urging me on. "But at least I am no longer laughing. I won't let you control me any longer." Riley stepped up beside me, her voice firm. "He's right, Jason. You cross people and think they will always stay quiet, but they won't, not anymore." The crowd roared back to life, cheers breaking out as people began to rally behind me, the volume swelling like a tide threatening to sweep away everything in its path. I could see Jason's face pale as the realization dawned on him that he was losing his grip, the walls around him closing in. "You can't just ignore us," I challenged, stepping forward, feeling emboldened by the cries of support. "You can try all you want, but this time, the truth is louder than your lies." The crowd continued to roar, the noise washing over me like a warm embrace, and I could see people I knew from classes over the years, those who were once silent now shouting in support. "Tobias, Tobias, Tobias!" The chant rose above the thundering voices, drowning out everything else. I turned to face Jason again, the tension between us electric. It is not just about today, it was never just about today. This is about healing, about taking control of my narrative after you made me feel small. This is about standing here, looking you in the eyes and saying, I'm not afraid anymore. You may have had your fun making me the punchline, but now it's your turn to watch as everyone realizes who you really are. Jason's eyes were wide with disbelief, his mouth partially open as if searching for words that simply would not come. The realization that he was no longer the center of attention, that the power he used to wield like a weapon was now turned against him, was sinking deep in. My chest filled with triumph, a flood of adrenaline coursing through me. I'd finally found my voice and it was stronger than any laugh at my expense. I savored the moment, absorbing the realization that the invisible boy was finally visible to everyone. Anyone else want to join in? I called out, my voice echoing as I gestured toward the crowd. Join me in standing against this. Who else has felt silenced? Who else has felt small because of Jason and his so-called friends? One by one, people started to raise their hands, speaking out from the crowd, sharing their stories. I was bullied too. He made me feel worthless. He made fun of me in class. Their voices blended into a chaotic chorus, but the solidarity felt so pure, so liberating. Jason stepped backwards, confusion and rage battling in his eyes. This isn't over, Tobias. I will not let you walk away from this. You will regret this moment. Oh, I already regret it, I said, my voice steady, unwavering, but for a very different reason than what you think. I regret letting you treat me like I was nothing for so long. You can try to threaten me, but those days are gone. You're just empty words now. As the crowd roared in solidarity, the power of the moment washed over me. I understood now that this wasn't just about revenge, it was healing, it was unity. I felt alive amidst the chaos, finally embracing who I was meant to be. Jason had tried to break me, but all he had done was forge a new strength within me. The last shreds of Jason's confidence crumbled away and he turned, pushing through the crowd that had once been his loyal followers. My heart soared with triumph, knowing I had turned his world upside down. I glanced at Riley, who beamed with pride beside me, and felt the crowd's energy pulsing through my veins. Victory was mine, not just in that moment, but in all the battles I had fought silently before. I stood tall, engulfed in the beauty of my newfound voice, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. This was not the end of this chapter, it was just the beginning. I had never felt such a storm raging inside me as I did that night. The air in the abandoned warehouse was thick with dust and shadows, the faint light from a few crumbs of moonlight sneaking in through broken windows, casting eerie shapes on the concrete floor. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, a drum of anticipation and dread, the sweat on my palms making it all the more difficult to grip the baseball bat I had brought with me. I could almost taste the bitterness of betrayal still fresh on my tongue, a gut-wrenching reminder of what had brought me here. Just hours earlier, I stood in my bedroom, the weight of my plan pressing down on me like 1,000 bricks crashing against my chest. Why did it have to come to this? I muttered to myself, clenching my teeth. The flickering shadows seemed to answer back, swirling around the dilapidated beams overhead like restless spirits intertwined in a dance of despair. I heard a sound then, soft but unmistakable, the crunch of gravel underfoot, the faintest whisper of voices approaching. I took a deep breath, pushing down the rising tide of nerves. They were here just as I had organized. I shifted into the darkness, flattening myself against the wall. The monotony of silence before the inevitable conflict felt charged with electricity. Get a grip, Tobias, I whispered harshly, my voice almost swallowed by the night. This is it. Moments later, the unmistakable figures of Liam and his buddies emerged from the shadows. Once they were just a flicker in the distance, now they certainly looked so much closer. Liam strutted forward, a confident smirk plastered across his face, casting off an aura of casual cockiness, so reminiscent of the boy who had tormented me for years. Tobias, thought you had the guts to stand us up. Not really in your nature, is it? His words lashed out at me sharp as a knife, but I kept my mouth shut. I took a moment to observe them closely. Liam had grown taller, broader, a muscle-bound figure ready to intimidate. Beside him were his two shadows, Ben and Kyle, equally intimidating with their smug grins and ravenous eyes. I could practically see the glee radiating from them, relishing the thought of all the power they held over me. Just wanted some closure, you know, Liam continued, revealing a thin veneer of goodwill. You need to apologize for the embarrassment you put me through earlier. Embarrassment, the word escaped my lips before I could stop it. The indignation boiled within me and I could almost feel the heat of my anger rising like a tide of lava. You mean what happened at the school assembly? That's all you can think about. Liam leaned forward, a mocking expression plastered on his face. Isn't it enough? I thought I taught you a lesson, Tobias, but look at you standing here all alone, still trying to play the hero. I felt my fists curling tighter around the bat. You think this is a joke? You've pushed me around for far too long, Liam. This isn't just about a stupid assembly anymore. Oh please. He rolled his eyes, clearly dismissing the seriousness of my words. What are you going to do? Swing that bat at me? The moment hung between us, a fragile web of tension filled with power and pent-up rage. I could feel every fiber of my being yearning to unleash the anger that had consumed me over the years. But this was not just about vengeance. This was about reclaiming my sense of self. I needed to push back, not just for me but for anyone else they terrorized and bullied. Why don't you just let it go, Tobias? Move on like a normal person. You can't fight us all, Ben spat, his sneer cutting through my resolve. I let out a harsh breath, gathering myself. That's where you're wrong, Ben. I'm not backing down this time. With that declaration, I stepped out of the shadows, holding the bat tightly, feeling its familiar weight like a security blanket tethering me to my determination. "You'll regret this," Kyle threatened, stepping forward. "Regret what?" I countered, my voice steady now, echoing the defiance burning inside me. "That I've had enough of being your punching bag." Liam stepped up, looking me directly in the eye with that cocky grin still plastered on his face. "You need to understand your place. You're just the loser who thinks he can play the hero, but heroes don't exist in the real world." "Maybe they do," I said, trying to keep my voice steady when it felt like it was about to quiver. "You'll see, you'll all see." Suddenly the atmosphere shifted. I could feel the determination in the air morphing into something more chaotic. "What are you going to do, Tobias? Wave that bat around like an idiot? This isn't a movie." "Maybe, maybe not," I replied, heart racing faster now. "But you should know that I'm not about to go down without a fight." As his laughter echoed through the vast emptiness of the warehouse, the sound bounced repeatedly off the crumbling walls, climbing to the high rafters and plummeting back down. "Fight? How cute. You think you can take on all three of us? Just stop." He thought of himself as a king on the throne, delusional, but there was a dawning realization creeping into my mind. Perhaps I could take them on. Perhaps I was stronger than I believed. His bravado didn't faze me. If anything, it only heightened my resolve. "I know you won't take me seriously until I do something you can't ignore. Until you all feel the same fear you've instilled in me and everyone else for so long." Liam's expression twisted from amusement to confusion, the smirk slipped from his face. "What do you mean?" "I mean this bat," I said, lifting it slightly, feeling its weight in my hands. "It's not just wood, it's a reminder of all the pain you've caused. For today it will be your reckoning." "Get real, Tobias," Ben shouted in disbelief. "What are you even talking about?" "Shut up," I yelled, the anger boiling over, the rush of power surging through me as I took a single step forward. "Today isn't just a day for me. This is a day for everyone you've ever hurt." "Shut up or I'll knock that bat out of your hands," Kyle threatened, stepping dangerously closer. This was the moment for action. My heart pounded relentlessly against my rib cage. "You think I'm afraid?" I breathed, my voice trembling slightly but building in strength. "Every time you laughed at me, every time you pushed me around, it only made me stronger. You're not my bullies anymore. I'm not a victim, I'm standing my ground now." Just as I felt a surge of adrenaline buzzing through my veins, they burst out laughing, a cacophony of snooty chuckles slicing through my words. But this time the laughter didn't shatter me, it fueled my determination. Instead, I shouted at the top of my lungs, "That's it, you've messed with the wrong kid." I swung the bat with fierce energy, imagining it striking against that confidence they exuded. The sound was both satisfying and terrifying, reverberating against the rusted walls of the warehouse, a warning echoing through the night. The bat whizzed through the air, narrowly missing Liam. "Whoa," he cried out, a mix of surprise and genuine fear breaking through that bravado. "What the hell?" Ben jumped back, his relaxed smirk now long gone. "You're actually insane. You think this is a joke, think this is a game. You've done nothing but play with people's lives for years," I screamed, the rush of anger pushing me forward. I took another swing, but this one hit the ground hard. The impact thudded against the concrete and reverberated up my arms. I felt everything in me surging, the overwhelming need to strike back burning in my core. "Think you're tough, huh?" Liam snarled, taking a step back, sweat beading on his brow, for the first time second-guessing the situation. "What are you hoping to achieve?" "I'm hoping to show you that I'm no longer afraid," I shot back, adrenaline coursing through my entire body. "You all may have pushed me to my limits, but I am done letting bullies control my life." "What do you think you're going to do, beat us up with your little stick?" Kyle yelled, searching for courage, obviously trying to save face. "Maybe if you don't back off," I warned, keeping my eyes locked on them. "This is your chance, leave now." Suddenly Liam raised his hands in mock surrender, his composure cracking under my ferocity. All right, let's just cool it a second. You want to talk, we can talk." "Talk," I scoffed, stepping closer and feeling the weight of my actions balance on a razor's edge. "You've never wanted to talk before, this is your chance to finally listen." "You'll pay for this, Tobias," Liam grunted, fear now mixed with rage. "You think swinging that bat intimidates us? You'll regret this." "Regret what?" "Standing up for myself?" I challenged. I wanted them to know the depths of my determination, the absolute refusal to remain silent. The balance of power had finally shifted. Sneering, Liam circled me, searching for weakness, but all he found was resolve. "You think you can win this? I know I can." With a sudden burst of energy, they all charged at me, the shadows closing in like a dark wave crashing against a fragile shore. I tightened my grip on the bat and dug deep, every fiber of my being ignited by instinct. Adrenaline surged through me as I swung the bat fiercely again, catching Kyle off guard, and he stumbled back, shock plastered across his face. Liam lunged, and in that moment it felt like the world slowed down, the sounds around me fading into a hushed silence. "This ends now," I shouted, swinging again, this time at Liam, but he dodged just in time. "Are you crazy?" he shouted in disbelief. "You're out of your mind." But the fear was real now. "Am I?" I countered, feeling fueled by that fear, reveling in it as I stepped forward, maintaining my ground. The noise of our struggle echoed through the warehouse, reverberating against the walls, thrumming in my chest and pounding in my ears. Ben attempted to grab my arm, but I feinted, twisting away as quickly as I could, the anger in me boiling over like a brightly colored inferno. Caught off balance, he lost his footing, and I could see the bewilderment in their eyes as they watched me stand resolute, ready to challenge them head-on with no fear left in my heart. "Keep coming, I'm not afraid anymore," I called out, my voice now solid and unwavering. This is my moment of truth. You'll feel the weight of your actions. Everyone you've ever hurt. I'm reclaiming my power today. The shadows of the past slowly started to lift, for I was Tobias, a creature of fire, and I would no longer be caged by their laughter. I had finally become a hero in my own story. This was my time to shine.